Spiritual Journeys with Marilee. And today, the journey that we are going to be talking about is Dustin Dawes' spiritual journey. And Dustin is a shamanistic practitioner. He does extraordinary astrology. He is a tarot reader, and he has an, he has a real gift for everything he touches, and I'm in awe of him all the time for his gifts and his intuitiveness. And so today he's going to share with you his um, uh, his astrological ability. Is that how I would say it, Dustin?
Sure. I think today is a great day to kind of talk about how astrology came into my life, and how I use it on my path to keep me rooted in the moment and to learn the deeper parts of myself and my psyche. But I also have the ability to use astrology to look at relationships and to look at events that happen in my life, to look at, rites of passages, there are different timing techniques in astrology that you can use to see when you're about to start a new phase or a new chapter. And astrology has been very powerful for me because it's given me a blueprint and a roadmap that I can follow. And there's a lot of power in that. Astrology came into my life right after my Saturn return, and the Saturn return in astrology is it is the universe saying you are now an adult. This happens typically between 28 to 30, depending on where Saturn is placed in your chart. And it takes about 28 and a half years for Saturn to transit all the way around to make one full transit. And when Saturn lands back at the same spot in your birth, this is considered a Saturn return. And this can be a period of great frustration and of lessons. And it's the universe saying, all right, we see now you're an adult. Here's some adult problems. What are you going to do with them? Saturn as an archetype represents limitations, restrictions, boundaries, time, sorrow. It is like I liken Saturn to the school of hard knocks. Like this is how we discipline ourselves in our life. Like without Saturn in our chart, we would not get things done. We would not take our responsibilities. We would not develop a sense of maturity. Saturn in Hellenistic astrology, which is ancient astrology, typically around the periods of the Romans and the Greeks, is considered a malefic planet. Saturn wants to has ill intentions, right? In order to be this restrictive, limiting factor that can be very difficult at present. Feels like it's pressing the weight of the world on you. And so, yes, there is this side of Saturn that gives us discipline and maturity and lasting power and resilience. But you have to learn through lessons. And so the first Saturn return, if you live to be older, you'll experience more Saturn returns. The second one happens typically around 58, 59, around that age.
Yeah,
This is
did
what we
that.
call the second kingdom of Saturn. And so, but the first one is definitely a reality check. Like, all right, and it all depends on your chart whether you have Saturn aspected well or not. If you have, some easy flowing aspects like sextiles or trines, uh, Saturn is definitely going to be more of a beneficial. It's still a malefic planet in Hellenistic astrology, but it will be more beneficial. You can work with Saturn's energy a little bit easier than maybe getting your butt handed to you. And so astrology came into my life right after my Saturn return, where everything was unraveling at the seams. And I was in a place in my life where I was mad at the world, I was mad at myself, I was mad at everyone I loved, and I was literally walking down a path alone. So when I found astrology, me being the Virgo with the Gemini moon, like I just love to learn. I just absorb information like a Rolodex. I just suck up more and more and more. I first looked at my chart and I was like, "Whoa, there's a lot going on here. Like, what is this?" It's like very confusing. And then I started to like really look at this in pieces, like just looking at the planets. Where are the planets at? Looking at the houses. Okay, what sign do I have in the house? And really had to take my time with this, but it was like building blocks. I started with the basics and I worked my way learning a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until I got to a place where I felt very comfortable reading her.
Can I wanted to mirror what you're saying because you introduced me to like upper level of my chart. I'm not an astrologer, but I didn't know my chart. But thanks to you showing me what my chart could actually be, I'm now learning. And you're right. I think that's we talked about. I have to take it bit by bit. So I'm actually eating a piece of pie at a time. That's what I think of it. But it's because of you and the way you just dug into my chart and found all this stuff that no one's ever said to me before that now makes so much sense. So I just wanted to reiterate what you're saying about like, because I'm not one to go in like that unless I really, want to. And I thank you for that. So yeah, but it is a piece at a time because I couldn't memorize all 12, like just looking at it. I could not do that. So thank you
Yeah, I
for
mean, it was very
helping me
overwhelming
pursue
for
my
me
own.
to start. And if you want to go ahead and pull up the chart of the moment, I can kind of talk about and point out some things as to why this can be very overwhelming for someone who is new to astrology, especially when you study charts and natal charts, charts of the moment, synastry, progressions, all those things. And so, as you can see on your screen, this is just a very basic chart, and this chart is a chart of the moment. So what we are looking at here is where the planets are in the sky at this particular moment. And this is coming from where Merrily is located. Obviously location and time are important. But you can see in the chart that it looks like a pie, and we have 12 houses. So if you look at the AC over on the left, this is the ascendant, and this is the eastern horizon in the sky. This is the sign that's crossing over. So right now we have Virgo crossing over the eastern horizon. This is the sign that's occupying that space. And then we go counterclockwise. Each house, there's 12 total. So in the second house, we see that there is Libra. In the third house, we see that there is Scorpio. Fourth house would be Sagittarius. Fifth house would be Capricorn. Sixth house would be Aquarius. We have the descendant, which is always opposite the ascendant. And then seventh house would be Pisces. Eighth house would be Aries. Ninth house would be Taurus. And then we see them in heaven, which is the MC. And this is the highest part of the heavens. It's called the medium coeli. And then opposite that point, we have the IC, which is called the minimum coeli. And this is what we also call the nadir, which is our roots. This is literally the most intimate spot in the chart. It's where we come from. And then it just follows around 11th and 12th house. And so once you get an understanding of where the houses are, and you can see the planets that are sitting in the house, now you can start to understand the energy that's occupying that particular part of life right now. And so this is one of the first things that I learned in astrology was making sure that I know the glyphs and what the glyphs represent so I can easily point it out and say, yeah, that's Libra that you're going through right now. That's Scorpio, that's Sagittarius. So learning the glyphs is important. And then the next thing about learning is learning what a traditional chart should look like. And so when we cast a chart to look at what energy starts the zodiac, on the ascendant, where we see Virgo in this place right now, technically Aries owns that real estate. That is Aries' house. Okay. And then the second house is Taurus. And the third house is Gemini. The fourth house is Cancer. And so this can be a very confusing thing, especially when you're first starting to learn astrology. You're like, oh, I have Sagittarius there. Yes. In the fourth house. but Cancer rules that house. And so you have to think, now I have a fire sign sitting in a water house. What does that mean? Um, and that can be very overwhelming. But you have to take into account the original ruler of the house and the sign that you have present there. So yes, we have Aries energy backing Mercury right now in this chart being in the first house, right? Because Mercury is Virgo. Mercury is also Gemini. But so right now we have the Mercury ascendant, but Aries is the energy that's behind it. So we have to think about the two planets that are involved. We have Mercury and we have Mars. And how does the energy work together? Well, Mercury rules communication, and Mars rules a planet. It's a planet of drive, ambition, aggression, and war. And how do those two energies work together? Astrology is very much so about putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and it's about delineation and synthesis. And so I always say keep it simple, stupid. Like take one thing in the chart and research into that one thing. So let's say in this chart, for instance, we can see that we have Mars sitting in the 12th house in Leo. Well, what does Mars energy feel like in the 12th house? The 12th house is Pisces. Means the planetary energy behind the 12th is going to be Neptune, I apologize. And so now we have Neptune and Mars energy working together. Neptune in the 12th house is a planet of self-undoing. In Hellenistic days, the 12th house was considered a daemon lot, it was a malefic house. That this is where we tend to harm ourselves through self-undoing, self-sabotage, escapism, running from our problems, living in a fantasy world, wanting to dissociate and check out for reality, projecting ourselves onto others, being mirrored by other people is very much the 12th house. And so Mars, can be, depending on what chart we're working with, Mars can be malefic or benefic. But as a planetary energy in general, Mars is the planet of drive and ambition. It's how we get things done. Without Mars in the chart, we do not have the drive or to accomplish our goals. But every planet has two sides to it. It can be helpful, but it also can be very hindering. And so on the lower polarity of Mars, we tend to have a planet that can be hot-headed, right? Anger, frustration, literal like acting out violently, war, all of those things. And Mars sitting in Neptune's house tends to get muted a little bit because Neptune, rules the ocean, it rules mirrors, it is the planet of spirituality and dreams. And so it's a very nebulous planet. It can be very vague, it can be very confusing, and some of Mars's temperament gets diminished a little bit, which can be helpful because Mars can be, there's only one path for Mars. It's straight. If you look at the glyph, it's a circle with a line shooting off of it. There's only one direction for Mars. There is not this, like, let's take my time and go all these different ways. It's very much so like, I want it, I'm going for it. And in Leo, we have Leo, which is ruled by the sun. And so now we have Leo sitting in a water house. And Leo is very, it rules the heart. It is about connecting to a like spirit. It's about compassion. It's about doing, right? Being. Leo's motto is, I will, therefore I am. I can attest to this. I've had many Leos come into my life that have been there for me and will done what needed to be done, no matter what needed to happen, because they will. And we need those kind of people in life. And so we can see that there is this drive right now, especially with the Leo energy in that Neptune house, that there's almost a seeking energy, wanting answers, spiritually, wanting to, there can be this energy of wanting to turn inward to figure out what does spirituality mean for me? What does it mean for the collective? how can I be a part of that? And what can I do to be of service? That's how I pick up on Mars and the 12th house. It's about being of service, and it's about getting out and doing what needs to be done to help others so that we can grow. If you look at the red line going from house to the ninth house, we now have it sitting in a square with 3 planets that are sitting on the midheaven. And the midheaven in the chart, which is where we see the Mars energy, is right now the gift that we are bringing to society has very much to do with um, what we have. What we have, our assets are, it can be very materialistic, but at the same time, it's about doing the hard work. Mars is sitting in square to the Sun, Uranus, and Mercury, which are sitting in a conjunction right now. And this energy sitting on the midheaven, what I'm picking up on is that it's very much so that our ego and our identity, our need for radical change and for growth and our way to communicate is a gift that we have, but it's spiritual drive. What is it that we want, and how do we go about doing that? So, Taurus, Earth sign, rooted, stubborn. And now we have Mars sitting in Leo, which is very hot and spicy. Even though it's sitting in a water house, there's this drive to want to connect. And it can be hard when you have very, pulling you towards the divine, the esoteric, things that might be considered mystical. And you have all of this energy really trying to do the footwork, which is what I'm hearing. That energy is not working. There is separation of head and heart. And so this is just one way that you use astrology by being able to look at the chart of the moment and say, this is kind of energy that we're experiencing as a collective. If we look at we have a huge pileup of planets. We have the North Node, Saturn, the Moon, Neptune, Venus, and Chiron all sitting sandwiched together, and all of that energy is all working as one. And so you start to understand what these planets do and what they represent and how they are showing up in life. And you can start piecing the puzzle together to make your inference of what does this energy look like? What is it presenting to me? And so astrology, for me, has given me the ability to understand my energetic makeup, how my energetic makeup is with the collective, how the collective energy is impacting my energetic blueprint. And then as I deepen my experience at astrology, I can now start to look at the relationship between me and animals. Astrology is very far-reaching. It is not and thinking that is it. Beyond natal charts and beyond casting a chart like this, we have progression, which we've learned in life so far. We have solar returns that is like a year. The energy that we're going to be encountering for the upcoming year is literally our birthday. And that's kind of like a yearly snapshot of like, this is what, when the ascendant changes, now, like for instance, I'm in a Scorpio ascendant this year, which means that this is a period where I'm becoming a little bit, I'm not necessarily being out of people. I need time alone to process and integrate, to do the healing work that I need. My viewpoint is being shaped by that ascendant sign and progression. That composite chart, which shows you two people together and how their energy is working as one unit. You can look at cartography where you can see, what would it be like if I moved and relocated to this particular place? What would the energy be like there? Would it be something that I would enjoy, or would it be something that might be difficult for me because there's a planetary energy on a ley line laying there that might be bringing that energy to the forefront, which can be difficult, and that's why some transitions can be difficult for us, especially if we're not in the right spot. has many different tools, and it has been very helpful for me, and I use it on a daily basis. And I started as a beginner and a novice. In about 3 to 4 years, I'm reading at the professional level. And if you have a serious commitment to learning this, you can make money doing this. You can help a lot of people doing this. And it's very fulfilling work.
Um, can I take this down so we can talk a little bit about everything you
Sure.
said?
Yeah.
Okay. I won't, I don't think I will, yeah, we'll just go back to the studio. Okay. Now I guess I have to stop sharing. Uh,